Hi, I'm Abba Shapiro, and today we're going to look at taking a simple portrait shot and stylizing it to create kind of a charcoal sketch look. Now, if you don't already subscribe to our YouTube channel, go ahead and click on subscribe below. And of course, if you like this video, go ahead and click on like at the end of the video. Now, let me show you where we're going to go with this, and then I'll take you on the journey to get there. So this is the initial image, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to process it to give it this kind of a charcoal look. So this is the after image. Let's go back to the original image and walk through how I got there. So the first thing I'm going to add is the tone filter. And the tone filter is one of my hidden favorite filters. I've talked about it before, but we're going to really push smart toning all the way to the right, and it's going to give us a very artificial look, but we're going to take and leverage that to our advantage. So I'm going to take the smart toning and I'm going to just move it all the way over to the right. Now, one of the things I like that happens when I do this is the eyes really get bright, and this is going to really help with the effect. And it also lightens the skin, and anytime you lighten the skin, it kind of course makes people glow a little bit better. To augment that, I'm going to add another filter that really brings out skin tone, that really makes the skin look really nice. And the filter we're going to add is our high key filter. Now, you find the high key filter underneath the creative section of your filters catalog. So I'm going to add the high key filter, and I'm going to slide that a little bit to the right. And you notice it makes the skin a lot more luminous. So now we've kind of prepped this, and now we're going to create the black and white part of this image. Now, I've talked about this before, but black and white is not necessarily just removing saturation. So you're not going to go to the saturation filter and just slide it to the left. What you're going to use is you're going to use the black and white conversion filter. So we're going to click on the black and white conversion filter, and you'll suddenly see, of course, it's black and white. But you have a lot of options here. You'll notice that underneath the black and white conversion filter, there's a bunch of little dots, 6 actually. And as you click on each of these dots, what happens is the black and white looks a little different. And this goes back into the days of when we used enlargers and we put different color filters in front of the lens, and that would filter out different bandwidths of light. So you'll notice that when I click on either the orange or the red, that skin tones look a little bit better. If I went over to the blue, it actually makes the skin tones darker. So what you can do is go ahead, play with these until you get a color balance you like, and then you can go ahead and play with these sliders and say, well, what would happen if I added more luminance to the red tones or to the yellow tones? And your skin's going to get a lot brighter and lighter. So I like this. The other thing I want to do here is I don't want really high contrast because I want a kind of a charcoal look. So I'm going to actually take the contrast slider and move it a little bit to the left. So I've kind of got my image close to where I want it, and this is where the really clever part comes in. We're going to add detail to the hair, yet we're going to continue to soften the skin. So to add detail, I'm going to go ahead and click on the Details Enhancer, and that's located underneath Issue Fixers. Now, it's not really an issue here, but we're going to go ahead and just grab all 3 of the sliders for small, medium, and large, and just move them over to the right. And we can be pretty aggressive here, and you'll notice it really does some cool things to her hair, but I really don't like what it does to her skin, because you don't want skin to have that extra detail, especially in a portrait. So here is where masking comes into play. I'm going to click on the little brush to the right of Detail Enhancers, click on the word brush, and make sure that I'm in the painting mode. Now I can go ahead and I can paint all that detail in where I want it, on the hair, maybe a little bit on the shirt, and probably on the eyes and the mouth. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, Control plus or Command plus, depending on whether you're on a Mac or a PC. And I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller with the left bracket key because I want the eyes to definitely be sharp. And a little bit on the lips. Not a lot, not too much. And keep in mind, if you're using the masking brush and painting things in or erasing things, remember there is an opacity amount that you can select. So here it actually made her lips a little sharper than I wanted. I'm going to go ahead and hit undo, Control Z or Command Z. Command Z for those of you who aren't in the US. And that undid the sharpening of the lips, And now what I'm going to do is change my opacity for painting that in to about 30–40%. And now it can be a little more subtle, the sharpening on her lips. So now I have the areas of the image that I want sharp. And let's go ahead and hit Command and Control 0 to bring it down. And you start seeing it's starting to pop the way I like it. Now, if you wanted to fix the skin, if the person has some blemishes on their skin, or you just want to soften that part, go ahead and add the structure filter. Now, again, a lot of people think when you add structure, you can only move it to the right and add a lot more detail, which of course is what would happen if I move the slider to the right. It's an interesting stylized look. As a matter of fact, this does again kind of look a little bit charcoaly. So go ahead and play with that structure slider, and if you want to soften it, just move it to the left and it actually will soften the skin. And once again, go ahead, click on the masking brush tool and paint in that softness or that additional structure exactly where you want it. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have the brush selected, and I just want to make sure the cheeks are nice and soft, so I'm going to paint that in. A little bit on the chin, a little bit on the neck. Now, if you want to see where you're actually painting in a filter, go ahead to the upper left-hand corner of the interface and click on the little small eyeball, and you'll see a red overlay wherever you are painting in that filter. And it allows you a lot of precision. If you've overpainted an area, you can easily switch back by clicking on the erase button. A nice little trick is if you hit the X key, it will toggle you between painting and erasing, and that can really speed up your workflow. So let's go ahead. I'm going to just clean up a little bit over here to erase. I'm going to hit the X key to paint in, soften the area above there, and let me turn this off for our final image. So this is that final charcoal image, and I really like this style that I'm working with. Now, I want to be able to get to this quickly. So what I'm going to do is create a custom workspace with all of these filters, and then whenever I want to create this effect, I can just open up that workspace and adjust my sliders. Now, to create a custom workspace, all I have to do is scroll to the very top of the filter list. Where it says custom, I'm going to go down and say save a new workspace. And I'm going to call this charcoal look. So I'll click save that workspace, charcoal look, save as a new workspace. And now in my drop down where my workspaces are, I have charcoal look. And this is great because if I go to another image, let me go back to my library. I'll grab another image that I might want to process. Open this up in the edit section. Click on charcoal look as my workspace. There is everything that I was just using. The tone slider, which I can now bring all the way to the right. I can bring in a little bit of high key. I have my black and white conversion, find something I like. Now in this case, I don't want the background to be really that light. So I'll go in and I'll just take and bring down the blacks in my black and white conversion and maybe my shadows. And that will bring the darkness back into this area. But I really like how it pops her eyes. As a matter of fact, if I turn this off, you'll notice she has very blue eyes. So when I work with my black and white conversion, if I move that blue slider all the way to the right, it's going to make those eyes get really light, and that's a lot of fun. So we have that. And then if I wanted to, I could go down, add a little bit of detail, bring in my brush, start painting in the detail on the hair. Maybe a little bit on the eyes. I'm using my left bracket key to make this nice small brush. A little bit on the lips. That's kind of nice. And I'm really happy. This is my after. That was my before. And very quickly, I've created a very unique stylized black and white image. So there you go. Try out the black and white conversion filter, smart turning all the way to the right, a little bit of high key, really makes the skin luminous, and then work with details and structure to both more or less and paint them in as needed. Now, if you like this video, go ahead, click like in the little box below, and remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button. I'm Abba Shapiro, and thanks for watching.